I'd like to call this meeting to order. We stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next regular meeting is scheduled for Friday, March 10th, 2017 at 9 a.m. at the Community Center, 3500 Edgewater Drive, Sebring. Please silence or turn off your cell phones. The consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
I move to pass the consent agenda.
Second.
Supervisor McCullough?
Any discussion? Correction?
Done.
Public? Okay, Chrissy.
Supervisor McCullough?
Yes.
Supervisor White?
Yes.
Supervisor Edgell?
Yes.
Supervisor Camp?
Yes.
President Gilpin?
Yes. I'd like a motion to accept the action agenda.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, great.
Supervisor White?
Yes.
Supervisor Edgell?
Yes.
Supervisor Camp?
Yes.
Supervisor McCullough?
Yes.
President Gilpin?
Yes. Okay, we have a presentation by Ross Macbeth for Code Enforcement.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Pleasure to be here. I was asked to talk to you about code enforcement. I received an ordinance last year and took a look at it. And while this isn't as quick a turnaround as I might like, I finished the work on it. It was a couple spurts. Actually, the difficult part at the beginning was just getting something that I could use because what I was provided originally was difficult to edit. So what I decided to do was use the code book that has your current code provisions in it, and then go through looking at what had been done and make changes there. So the draft that you're looking at was actually created in that manner. So the changes that you're looking at, it should be a document comparison version. The provisions that are unchanged are those in your current code. Those with strikeouts are provisions that are in your current code that would be deleted. And the provisions that are underlined and in blue, at least in my version, are those that would be added. I had the benefit of a draft by an attorney, Mr. Pritt, that had been commissioned by this board, I believe. And so I was looking through his changes as I went through. And the task for me as a code writer for the county is to make sure that I understand what the intent is, and if it seems a little unclear, then I reorganize it or rewrite it a bit so that it's clear to me what the intent was. So I had an idea what you all were after in terms of the provisions, but some of them I thought could be clarified. Also, as I went through, I found new concepts coming in, and the new concepts had some additional terms that I thought should be defined. So I'll start on the first page. As just an example, it's dealing with section 9-102, minimum maintenance standards for parking. And so there's a statement that you'll see underlined in B that would be an addition at the start of the definitions. It says that to the extent not inconsistent with this section, the definitions contained elsewhere in this article and in the Code of Ordinances, Highlands County, Florida, shall define the words contained in this section. That was part of the changes that had been recommended by the earlier attorney, but it was at the very end of the section. So I moved it forward so that that statement of intent was at the beginning rather than the end. And I think you'll find as you went through, if you have, that a lot of the things are just like that. I had no problem at all with the suggested change. I thought it might belong in a different place or be organized differently. There's also a definition for all-terrain vehicle because, again, some of those changes that had been suggested brought in new concepts, so I added definitions from Florida statutes for things like all-terrain vehicle or ATV, which was included but not defined, golf cart, low-speed vehicle, things like that. So I made those changes. Also, there was an idea to expand in that earlier draft that was provided motor vehicles to include golf carts and low-speed vehicles, hence the definitions. But that tied in part to the driveway idea. You had a provision that allowed mulch to be used in essence as a parking area, like a paved one, but it's not paved in the same fashion. And I understood that that was not desired any longer, that mulch would not be sufficient as a parking area. And it had been stricken, but the statement, I'm on page 3 now of my draft in 5, struck mulch, which had been done. And it said that grass is not appropriate to the application, but I thought it would be important, since you were striking mulch, to also say not just grass, but grass and mulch are not acceptable. So I added that at the end. More definitions you'll see either being stricken or modified. There are just cleanup things. The special magistrate, when we did this code way back in the beginning, was a special master. They're special magistrates, so they're minor cleanup things like that, just based upon passage of time. In the immunity from trespass, your attorney that drafted earlier had suggested adding to the immunity from trespass to the extent permitted by law. I had no problem with that. The hours for leaving partially dismantled, non-operating vehicles on the property, shortening that from 72 to 48 hours. One of those things is recommended, that's there. In the parking, as I mentioned, there was a concept that the mulched areas wouldn't be sufficient. And you'll find that in the parking, I made some other changes there because, again, the concept was that the golf carts were going to be okay for transportation, but you really didn't want them being parked on the yards any different than any other vehicle. So parking golf carts, you needed the same kind of parking surface that you would use for any of the other vehicles that might be parked there. And there was a lead-in that said that the reason for that was, at least in part, to prevent fuel spills and things like that on grass. Well, obviously true, but golf carts are electric vehicles, many of them, and that concept really doesn't work if that's the only reason, so I took it out because that's really not the only reason that you made a change to mulch. So if we're going to have it apply to all, then I took out that provision. That's why you see, I'm on page 6. Motor vehicles parking on lawns. I took out the statement about seepage of gasoline and things like that. Just left it that it's not allowed. And I reorganized the paragraph because there were two concepts in 1A. One of them not parking on prepared surfaces in the front, and the other one in the back. And the two things were there, but it went front, back, and I just put the two front concepts together and the two back together. Again, just an organizing thing. So, and then there was another thing on tents and canopies that was expanded to other coverings. So there's a longer list of things that are not going to be acceptable for parking your vehicle under. Keeping animals, that wasn't changed. And then in the in the nuisance abatement area, there was an expansion of the prohibition on ex parte communications with your special magistrate. And to that, I also added witnesses. It had not included alleged violators, attorneys, or witnesses before, and now those are expressly stated to not have ex parte communications with your special magistrate on matters that would be heard. I'm sure that your special magistrate already was aware that that shouldn't be done anyway, and I don't really consider that a change in concept at all. So the other changes in that area were primarily statutory. Again, since this code was adopted for your minimum maintenance, the provisions for giving notice of code violations in preparation for a hearing have changed a bit. So the other attorney had done some cleanup to make this consistent with the statute as it is today, and those things are there as well. You are under Chapter 162, as is the county. The fine situation, though, is a little bit different layout than what is provided in 162. Yours being somewhat more forgiving in the repeat violation area particularly. Each time there's a violation in Sun and Lake, there's a warning that precedes it. The county doesn't do that. It's not really required, but it's certainly user-friendly to the citizens that they receive a warning. Repeat violations are based on violations, and the fine provisions were somewhat simplified so that it's $100 on a violation, $200 on a repeat violation, and the things do not go up from there. And again, after a year, it's not a repeat violation any longer, because that period, when it came to me, was that it would be a one-year period, and then in essence you start all over again. So if you've been past that violation clean for a year, then code enforcement essentially starts all over again at the bottom and works its way back up. Again, quite beneficial to the citizens here. So in short, what I did was kind of clean up what I found when it came to me. The concepts were good, they were workable. I reworded them a little bit so that they would be a little bit clearer and weeded out a few inconsistencies. Be happy to answer questions about the review.
I just wanted to ask one about the ex parte communications.
Yes, sir.
Since we were added into that. Now, that only applies, not speaking to one side without the other side available, right?
Well, here's the idea. If you were going to court, the judge is absolutely prohibited from talking to anybody about that case. They're not supposed to. They're supposed to make a decision based upon the evidence that they hear when they go to court.
Right.
The special magistrate is to do the same thing. They are a judicial officer for you, and they are only really supposed to make a decision based upon the evidence that comes in at the hearing. They're not supposed to be receiving input from the public before the hearing or from anyone else for that matter. Again, the list was expanded, but I don't believe that that's of any consequence, because special magistrate isn't supposed to be talking to anybody about that case before they come to hearing.
Right, but I knew what the ex parte was, but what I'm saying is we were in there as district elected officials. So in other words, if there is a code violation, we have nothing, we can't speak to one side or the other about these things, right? Because without the other being present.
Well, not with the special magistrate, but anybody can come talk to this board or a board member about that. It may be that they are seeing a need for either a change in policy or perhaps a change in code. That they just don't think it's being handled in an appropriate manner. So the only one who's really restricted from hearing those things is the special magistrate.
Okay.
I would expect full input to the code enforcement officer and an open dialogue between the code enforcement officer and the citizen who's affected, and also that they would be able to come talk to their elected officials or management within the Sun and Lake District. None of those things are prohibited.
Okay. The only other thing I had was being able to park a boat or a car and so forth in the driveway. In this new, you added, and let's say it has no canopies and so forth like that, but you added that whether it was a fitted vehicle or a boat cover. Does that allow people to leave their boat? It's in section I under parking 2, page 6. Does that mean that they can leave a boat parked in the driveway if it has a fitted cover, or a car if it has a vehicle cover, fitted vehicle cover? It's in section 2.
Well, I'm not sure what you were doing about boats before, and I don't think that was an addition that I made. That came out of the comments that were in the code when it was sent to me for review. So that addition of blanket, sheet, or similar covering except fitted vehicle or boat cover was what came to me, and I have no idea what the intent was. I didn't have an issue with it, so I didn't change it. What I did do was, since there were additional coverings mentioned, I struck the word canopies that is in the title. You'll see that strikeout, and added the words other coverings, because that's truly what the section then did, and it added, in addition to under any tent or canopy, it added blanket, sheet, or similar covering except a fitted vehicle or boat cover as a garage substitute, which I believe would do exactly that. If you wanted to keep your boat and not in a garage, you wouldn't leave an open boat there. If it had a cover on it, that would be acceptable. This talks about parking of motor vehicles is number 1. Number 2 is certainly broader than motor vehicles, because boats are not motor vehicles. So it would allow keeping a vehicle or a boat with a fitted cover in, as a garage substitute. I don't know whether you desire that or not, but that was in the code when the revisions that came to me, and I have no issue with that.
Yes, the issue here is we wanted to take out the allowing tarps on top of vehicles because it is an eyesore, and we were finding that people were covering their vehicles in tarps. Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah.
So as long as it's a fitted cover, it would be an acceptable covering.
Yeah, if you prohibit that, then you'd be looking at either vehicles or boats that are uncovered or kept in a garage. Again, not really my issue, so.
Any other comments?
Can you hold 1 second? Yeah, I think I do.
I don't have any.
Just a minute, Mark.
Apologize. Go ahead, I can't find it right now.
Yes, sir.
I have one while he's looking at you. Variances, is there some way that we could have a variance to these, any part of this or any of these issues? In other words, if we didn't want the boats being parked in the front yard, or could the board pass a variance to that, to change it?
Well, I haven't looked at who has variance authority in here, but I know that for a lot of the regulations, at least under the main parts of the county code, the variances are granted either by the Board of Adjustment that we have that grants variances, or in some cases by the county engineer in the development area. So there are variance provisions. How that would work for these specific provisions, I'd really have to look.
Okay, I know I mentioned to you that about that.
Yes.
Looked at that. I'm sorry I brought it up again, but yeah, I'd like to know that too. So I'll get in touch with you about that.
That'll be fine.
Okay.
Be happy to respond.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I do have a question here. It's not something that you actually changed or maybe wasn't even addressed, but it is under the section of parking motor vehicles, and it's under section 4 and part A, and it talks about the requirements for vehicles in terms of boats and things of that nature. Does this mean that people can have, for an example, a boat if it fits within the 18 feet or less, and the 6 feet height, and a utility trailer, and can they have multiple items in their yard?
Okay, number 4, actually.
4A, yes.
4A does not address boats and boat trailers at all. You'll see that that's restricted to recreational vehicles, which includes travel trailers and camping trailers. Those are the only things that are restricted in 4, and there are size limits. Well, actually, and it does say one boat. So recreational vehicles shall not be located in any front, side, or rear yard except that one boat 18 feet or less in length, et cetera, and one utility trailer. So while boats are not recreational vehicles, you could have a boat with a utility trailer, which is a recreational vehicle under the definition here. So you could have one of the things permitted under 4 as a recreational vehicle plus a boat. That's 2 trailers in a yard.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
That's it. Okay, thank you, Ron. Or do we want public comment or not?
We're not voting on anything today, but that's fine if you'd like to entertain that.
Okay, Bill, you can speak.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Macbeth, for giving a presentation to try to clarify some of the codes. Well, I just had a question on the Thunder Lake only has a warning. There's no penalty, whereas the county has a $100 or $200 penalty for violations. Can anybody answer that?
Yeah.
Well, actually, the way it works in the county also is there is a warning first. There's always a warning before there's a citation unless there's some kind of emergency situation or it's transitory. The county has some concepts like that so that you walk up and it's an itinerant guy, he's doing something he's not supposed to, and if you don't cite him then you're not going to get them. So there is authority for that depending upon the violation, but typically our code starts with the warning, as does yours.
Well, I think a warning is a fair judgment on that. Also, you mentioned that it's a $100 fine after warning, $100 fine, then $200 for repeat. Now, after the year, it's a rollover. Not, you didn't make that clear. Okay, fine. It's not a rollover. Does it continue?
In the county system, and the way this code had worked, is that it's basically a permanent thing. You get a violation, and it's going to be there for a while. And doing it again a year or two later is a repeat violation. But under your code as rewritten, it is not. So if you've got a clean sheet for a year, then it's not a repeat violation. The next one has to have a warning again, and a citation if it's not cleared up within the warning, and a repeat violation only if the violation is repeated again within the year. So it's...
Well, you make... I have the part two on that kind of a question is, are any liens applicable here?
Yes, these could be liens on property.
Fine, thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Oh, one more. Two more.
Good morning, Gene Gange, I'm your resident. Thank you, Mr. Macbeth. Another fine job. I went through this yesterday, and a couple things kind of popped up, and this is strictly for concern for liability. On page 2, you mentioned golf cart means the design not capable of exceeding 20 miles per hour. Then you have low-speed vehicles, which means any four-wheel vehicle not greater than 25 miles an hour. Now, the question comes up is we rent and we lease golf carts. Do our golf carts that are leased exceed 20 miles per hour?
No, they don't.
They don't, all right.
About 13 miles an hour.
They're 13 miles an hour by contract?
I think, well, I don't know if it's by contract, but they're 13 miles an hour, 13 to 14. That's a standard.
Okay. All right, a couple things that seem to have dropped off, and one was the motor vehicle, or what's missing is the electric assistance mobility device. That was dropped off. And you mean an open space at grade between a building of a structure, there's about two sentences that are dropped off of that as well. Looking at the waste collections, you have in there no earlier than a 12-hour period, so the waste collection department now is you have to have it out by 6 o'clock. So if you put the 12 hours in front of the 6 o'clock, so that means the day before your waste is collected, at 6:01, you can let that stay out there for 11 hours and 59 minutes. On page 5, under 6 for swimming pools, was dropped off was pools not constructed and secured maintenance according to the Chapter 515 Florida statutes. That was dropped off. You're looking at canopies, which we spoke of, and on page 6, the word canopy, and on page 7, you see carports. I don't know if we're allowed carports in Thunder Lake because it's not an enclosed structure. Getting on to page 10, section 1A, there are orphans. You have words that come down and it's or, and it's or what. There's nothing there on 1A. 1B, another or. Nothing there. You've gone from publication in 2 locations to 3 locations. Some of these items were not underlined. Not that it's a big deal, but it's so much easier to read if someone was really getting into this. Then we get section 9-102 violation. It seems that it was taken out on the first draft and now it's put back in. Is that something that's shows up a couple times, Mr. McMillan? This was a strikeout on the first one, on this article, section 9-102, and then it was put back in. May have been a correction.
You were looking at a different draft than mine.
Well, this is the draft that I received from the district. You may have an earlier, a later one?
I believe that the one that I've been talking from is later than that.
Later than July, I have July 15th,
Gene,
2016.
Gene, if you have some questions, feel free to contact me or come in and see me about any questions you have on that
Okay.
document.
I
Okay.
made substantial changes in the one that you're looking
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you. Thank you. Bob?
Bob Butts, resident. I just want to understand the boat situation. Does it now say that you can have a boat in your driveway if you have a boat cover on it?
Yes.
You can.
Under 18 feet long.
6 feet high.
6 feet high. Yeah.
And you could also have a utility trailer in your driveway? Is there a size on that?
Yes. 8 feet, I believe.
So you can set a boat out there and you can set a utility trailer out there?
Yeah, this is not a change. This is
That's not a
something that
change. It's
is,
been here.
yeah, this has been implemented for quite some time. This is not a change today.
Okay, thank you.
See, that's the problem. There's a lot of stuff.
I questioned the same thing. I didn't know.
Got to be changed.
Does
Your name?
Rick Hulbert, citizen, but certain subdivisions might not allow those things to happen. Is that correct? Like Magnolia Place or,
Correct.
right,
Correct.
their bylaws may override those regulations.
Not override, but they can be more restrictive. Homeowners
More
associations. can be
more restrictive on their homeowners' bylaws.
Correct.
David, I have a question for you. Could we restrict that to either only one vehicle, whether it be a boat or whether it be a trailer? Is that something that we can do in the district?
Yeah, I mean, I'd recommend that we make that change now before because we're gonna send the proposed version to the county because that's what's changing. This is changing the
Right.
county code. So if we
Right.
want to make that change, we need to make it before we submit it to the county for approval.
What's anybody's thought? I'd be totally for it, but that's,
My first thought is that I've been told all along since I got on this board, you couldn't park boats in the driveways. And Bob, who's a fisherman, just built a house and put a garage on it. Well, he attached a house to a garage, just for that reason. And I didn't know that was the way it was until I read this past week. I couldn't believe it, so I read it again last night. And so I'm in favor of what you're talking about. If we're going to do it and send this on to the county, it'll be one or the other. And then if it is a trailer, it should have a fitted top to it, just like the boat, the ones you get to buy for a boat and so forth like that.
okay.
I know that it's only at 2 now, but what if it goes to 3 or 4 and someone opens up a used car lot? You know?
Mark, what do you think?
I've listened to discussions on this particular issue for years, sitting out in the audience. I think there are quite a few things that really need to be addressed in here. I'm not so sure right now that we should pass this on directly to the county for approval. But there are also issues, I think, that pertain more to how we enforce some of these things. There's an area in here, and I can look it up and give you exactly. They talk about unregistered vehicles. They talk about not abandoned vehicles, but vehicles being worked on. I can drive around several streets here and see 4 or 5 vehicles, some of them up on ramps and everything else. If this is a district-wide policy, then we need to really examine it a little closer and see how we're going to enforce some of the things. I went by a house the other day, they had 4 vehicles in their yard, 2 of them on the grass, 1 of them on ramps. And so I think this has to be examined a little further. I'm not trying to slow down the process here. I know it takes a long time, but maybe we should put a workshop together and state where our concerns are.
Kurt?
I agree with everything that's been said so far. Yeah.
I do too, but Tanya, how can we stop this and start back a little, take one step back?
We can have a workshop if that's what you desire at a future board meeting. We can do so.
Yeah. I mean, I want everybody here to agree to it. It's just not.
Yeah, I think
If
we
that's-
should, because there's just so many when I looked at that, I thought you only could put a boat out for a week and had to be moved, and I was surprised too by all the stuff there, and I'm concerned about enforcement, so.
Do we need a motion, or can we just?
No, we're not voting on anything today, so
Okay, well, let's
Okay.
just stay this and.
Okay.
and-
if you want a workshop, we can absolutely put that, because the plan was to bring this to the board at the next meeting for approval to
Right.
send on to the county, but we can have a workshop at the next
Yeah.
meeting instead and try to come up with a final version.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll send it up over to Mr. Macbeth if we've made any changes, but we can absolutely do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I think we should do that, Tanya. Okay?
Understood, yes.
Okay, and thank you out there for your comments.
Thank you, Mr. Macbeth. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Wait, so, I'd be happy to come to your workshop if you think that would be beneficial. And there are, of course, concepts in here that have been here for quite some time, and I think what you're talking about is taking a look at some of those things that affect the appearance of the neighborhoods and things of that sort. Always worth taking a look at as you're making revisions.
Ross, thanks again, and I think if we can, we'd like to have you here
Be happy to do that.
at the workshop.
I'll coordinate that. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have resolution number 2017-0224-10-A, a resolution of Sun and Lake of Sebring Improvement District to approve a contract with James Rogers for the sale and swap of district property to facilitate Cortez Extension. And it seems like I skipped one.
You skipped one.
Yeah. Can we do this and then go back?
However you want to do it.
However
Sorry.
you want to do it.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Tanya, are you going to talk to us about that
Yes.
one? Okay.
Attached for your consideration is a contract with James Rogers to exchange 6521 Orduna Drive for 3 lots located on Minorca Drive. The purpose of the exchange is to extend Cortez Road to Schumacher Road, creating a 4th entrance to the district. The district has allocated monies in the budget for this extension, and additionally, Highlands County has deeded 7 lots to the district to assist with drainage for the Cortez Road extension. Additionally, Mr. Rogers is purchasing 2 adjacent lots on Minorca for future development. And this contract will approve that today.
Okay. Board, do you comment?
I got a question for you on the drawing that the architect drew. Left and right of the new road, there, looks like there's a parking lot or something on the left and on the right. What is that?
These are just illustrations, that if a building were built there, that's how they could look if the road was extended. So those 2 buildings that you see are just illustrations. They're not actually there.
Who owns the property? Do we own
These
that
are 2
property?
private owners, but we will be owning the property 80 feet it's to the property to the right. We will also be owning that as well. So those are 2 private owners on each side of the road.
So the property on the right, we're going to own 80 feet from the center of the road?
Yes, sir.
And then what about left?
None. That's a
None
private
what?
owner.
None what?
I mean, we don't need to buy any property to the left.
We already own that?
No, that's a private owner. Yeah, private ownership.
We don't need any additional room to build the road. For the property on the right, we've got to get we're purchasing 80 feet of it so that we can make that extension.
Okay.
Any other board comment?
Nope.
Public comment? Okay, Chrissy?
Supervisor Edgel,
Yes.
Supervisor Camp,
Yes.
Supervisor McCullough,
Yes.
Supervisor White,
Yes.
President Gilpin.
Yes. Okay, next is a resolution number 2017-02-2409-A, a resolution of Sun and Lake Sebring Improvement District to award contract for architectural services. Is that Omar?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, is that you, Tanya, or Omar? Or-
This is a resolution going forward from the last board meeting. We had the two presentations from KCMH and CMSA Architecture. They did the two presentations. This is a resolution for board approval on which of those two firms the board would like to select for the renovation of the clubhouse.
Okay. Any comment by the board?
Can we make recommendations at
Yes,
this
you
point?
can.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything you want.
I mean, I thought both of the presentations were great last time, but this is just my personal opinion. This is the direction I would like to see it go, is with Cliff Schultz of CMSA. And the reason I say that is he seems to have the most experience as it pertains to golf course operations and those types of facilities, whereas the other architect was a little more geared towards commercial environment. That's just my personal opinion.
Okay.
Mark, I have to agree with you. That was my personal opinion. The other architect has got both residential and commercials, but he really didn't have much like what we have.
Wally?
Don't have any comment. I agree with that.
Yeah, I kind of settled in on CMH as well, and mostly because of Drew Jones gave them a higher rating than the other one, and basically he's an engineer that works with these guys every day, and so he, to me, would be more of an expert than anybody that interviewed these guys, so I was kind of leaning that way as
Okay.
well.
Okay. Tanya, do we just,
Somebody make a motion to fill in that blank.
Yeah.
And then we'll get a second and we can vote on it.
need a motion?
I'll make a motion to fill in CMSA, Cliff Schultz Architects.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Back to the board and then public comment.
Anybody else have anything else?
Nope.
The only thing I had is,
I did it backwards.
CMSA did have the ability to work in golf courses, even though the other one would have asked for a kitchen specialist to work on that, so he would have had that, but I agree, CMSA is okay, so public comment?
Bill Norcross, resident. I know we're not on the subject, but while we have the county commissioner, he's still here, maybe you could answer a question on that extension on what you were talking about on Shoemaker and Cortez. Is that going to be paved, or have you, who's going to pay for that? Is it the county's going to pay for it? No?
Bill, that's still being negotiated. I mean, the county has talked about paving Schumacher for a long time. Whether or not that's going to happen, we don't know yet.
Well, they were complaining before because they have to turn it over, grade it, and
Correct.
everything like that. It costs a lot of money. So I hope we don't get stuck with the whole bill.
Okay,
Thanks.
thanks, Bill.
Ray Brooks, resident. I was just wondering how much this is going to cost us, the contract that you're going to award.
Say it again, Ray.
I was wondering how much this will cost to hire these people to work on the kitchen, I guess.
As of right now, the cost is unknown. Both firms provide a 8% fee based off building construction. So if we build a $500,000 addition, then it's going to be 8%. If it's 750,
I'm sorry, how much?
The cost right now is unknown. It's 8%.
The cost right now is unknown?
8% of building cost.
I would just say, how can you vote on something where the cost is unknown?
Go ahead, Tanya, you explain it to him. Ray, come back here a minute.
We'll get you an answer.
Both firms, it's going to cost 8% of the construction costs. That's how
Okay.
so it depends if the board
Do we have
decides
any
that for
idea what
a,
we're talking about?
Well,
So it's 8% regardless for both companies,
correct.
and we budgeted 8% of the unknown?
We don't have any construction costs budgeted at this time. We just have the architectural services budgeted. So we don't have a budget for this yet. That's up to the board to determine what type of construction they want and what's recommended by.
They're going to vote to approve an 8% charge on an unknown.
They're approving to approve in a contract with an architect. So the architect can design a building or a kitchen,
So it could be 50,000, it could be 5,000. Who knows, right?
Ray, it's all
I mean,
what,
8% of an unknown is an unknown, right?
it's all what we decide what we're going to spend. That's the thing, and we might not even spend anything.
The initial. So then in that case, you don't owe them any money?
No, the initial payment is $2,500.
Initial.
The initial payment is $2,500.
$4,500? Okay, thanks.
Any more comment from the board?
Nope, call for the vote.
Chrissy?
Supervisor Camp,
Yes.
Supervisor McCullough,
Yes.
Supervisor White,
Yes.
Supervisor Edgel,
Yes.
President Gilpin.
Yes. Resolution number 2017-0224-11-A, a resolution of Sun and Lake of Sebring Improvement District to approve budget amendment number 3 to the 2017 budget of transfer funds from the utility fund to the capital improvement fund for public works facility projects.
Motion to approve.
Second.
So this resolution is for a budget amendment number 3. During the budget process, the board approved the maintenance building costs to be allocated during the capital improvement fund. We've allocated a revenue in stream, a transfer in from the URF. In order to transfer the money from the utility fund, I need these line items in order to make that transfer from the utility to the capital improvement fund. So it's just for budgetary purposes. I just need the line items to make the transfer.
Okay. Any comment?
No comment?
Public comment? Chrissy?
Supervisor White,
Yes.
Supervisor Edgel,
Yes.
Supervisor Camp,
Yes.
Supervisor McCullough,
Yes.
President Gilpin.
Yes. Resolution number 2017-0224-12-A, a resolution of Sun and Lake of Sebring Improvement District to approve a 2-year extension to the agreement with DSG Fleet Solutions for serving of the tag touch units installed on the public golf carts.
Motion to approve.
And I'll second that.
Okay. Is Jim here?
He's not here yet. Him and Ron Garl should be here, I'd say anytime, within 10 minutes or so. We're going to call him. But attached for your consideration is a 2-year extended warranty service agreement with DSG Fleet Solutions, and this is for the Tag Touch GPS units on the public golf carts. This agreement provides for servicing defective units until December 31st, 2018, with an additional 1-year term until terminated by the district. The monthly payment is $1,147 for a total of $27,528 over 24 months.
Okay. Any comment?
I think that's what, $300 a month cheaper than it was The original contract was?
than the original contract, correct?
Anything else, guys? Public comment?
Rick Hulbert. What are we receiving or do we receive out of these GPSs on these golf carts? Financially?
Financially,
Yeah.
we receive advertising revenue that is generated. So if a business wanted to advertise real estate or whatever the case is, they would pay the district for advertising their business on the GPS unit.
So why would not that advertisement be paying for this extension?
The advertisement is going to pay back the actual original cost of the GPS units, and that was directed by the board whenever the units were purchased in November of 2014. So the advertising revenue generated plus $1 per public round of golf is being used to pay back the $160,000 that was used to actually purchase the units.
Where do we stand on that figure as far as our balance?
We have about 45,000, I believe 44 or 45,000 left in payback from the original 163,000.
So we have to now pony up some more money to cover these units.
It's recommended because of the number of units that have had issues within the last few months, and this agreement covers any defect going forward. As they age, I mean, they're already, I believe, 2.5 years old.
Rick, we have not been paid for this year's advertisement yet, so that will come off of that 45,000 she's got, and the extra dollar for this coming year should pay them off by probably close to this fall, easily.
We hope so.
Yeah, well, we didn't get the dollar for a long time until we started yelling about it. You know that.
Virgil Elliott, resident. Is this contract just a maintenance contract, or does it also provide the GPS service?
It's maintenance only,
It's a maintenance.
I think.
It's a maintenance contract.
Just a maintenance contract, so
Yes,
we
sir.
have to pay the yearly GPS service on top of that, correct?
No, I'm sorry, I'm confused. I don't know of any other service agreement. This is just a service agreement.
So we pay for them to feed the GPS to us?
No.
No, we don't.
We don't?
Okay.
We-
I
we
wish Jim was
purchased-
here.
I think we do.
I wish Jim was here. I believe, and I might be incorrect, that this is for maintenance of the actual units themselves, including the software that they utilize in the pro shop to do the tracking and set up the parameters, or the perimeters, I should say, so golf carts don't get too close to the greens and so on, as well as all subscription to the updates to the
Yeah,
golf
and-
course,
and
I
this-
believe.
Okay.
Yeah, the software was purchased originally with all the units back
Right,
in
but-
November of
Like with
2014.
SkyCaddy, you had to pay
Mhm.
so much a month for a subscription for the GPSs to work.
Mhm.
And it was when we first did this, they came out that was gonna cost us $18,000 to $20,000 a year on top of the GPSs. And that's my question, is this including that, or is this just a maintenance contract on top of that?
Well, this is just a maintenance contract, but if we pay anything additional, I'm not familiar. I haven't seen a contract or anything. So I'm sorry, Virgil, I can check on that for you. I'll check on it. I'll check on it.
Any other public comment? Any comment by the board?
Other than I wish Jim was here.
Yeah.
Well, I think one comment to make would be the fact that the original plan 4 years ago was that this would break even in 4 years and actually become a cash cow, if you want to call it that, going forward, so.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
We're only 3 years into it.
yeah, so it sounds like it's right on track, but. Do you guys want to hold this over till he gets here, or do you want to vote on it now? Go ahead, Chris.
Supervisor Edgel,
Yes.
Supervisor Camp,
No.
Supervisor McCullough,
Yes.
Supervisor White,
Yes?
President Gilpin.
Yes. Resolution number 2017-02-24-13, a resolution of Sun and Lake of Sebring Improvement District to request that the property appraiser reclassified certain lots as district use for tax exemption purposes and petition the property appraiser for exemptions on tangible personal property used to maintain public golf courses.
I so move.
Second.
Okay, Omar? Or
So for this
Daniel?
resolution, we're looking for board approval, so we can do a formal petition from the Hinds County Property Appraiser's Office for the list of properties that we've selected and the tangible golf equipment that we're being taxed on. Our estimated savings for the property taxes themselves, which are all retention pond areas, district use entrances that will never be sold, always be in district use, is about $8,397, our estimated cost savings just on the property taxes. The additional savings for the tangible property tax related to the golf equipment is about $16,563 if we get both exemptions. We don't know that they're going to approve all of them, but we have a strong feeling that they will approve all the exemption requests.
Okay,
I'd just like to commend you on discovering this. This is great for the district and the savings, and I appreciate you digging into this.
okay, public comment? Okay, back to the board. Anybody else have anything?
Nope.
Other than, I was impressed too that when I was shown the map and, and the stuff that we've been paying taxes on, so I think it was a good job, Omar and Tanya, for doing this. Chrissy?
Supervisor Camp,
Yes.
Supervisor McCullough,
Yes.
Supervisor White,
Yes.
Supervisor Edgel,
Yes.
President Gilpin.
Yes. Okay, I think I'm going to take a short recess till we get Jim here and Ron Garl, so we'll be maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10. Okay. This next item is a discussion for golf rates for residents with expiring one-year free memberships. And Jim, before we start this, we had a question before you got here on the golf carts.
GPSs.
With the GPS, is that contract we're signing, is it just for, does that cover everything, just the maintenance thing, that's the only contract we have?
It's a maintenance agreement, I believe, for 2 years with an additional option year, and it covers the maintenance and operation of the units.
Okay, just a minute. Virgil, would you come up and ask the question?
Does it cover the satellite subscription? Is there a satellite subscription?
I don't think so.
We didn't think there was.
I'm actually not familiar of what terminology is satellite. So in other words, if we didn't have this, the units wouldn't run. Is that your question?
Have you ever used a Sky Caddy?
Yes.
If you don't pay your subscription on the Sky Caddy, it dries up.
Right.
It's
Yes.
a paperweight. Do we have that same satellite subscription with our GPS?
Do you pay a fee, in other words?
Correct. I mean, this is all bundled, so I can look into that. I don't want to answer it without having the total question. But my perception would be yes. It covers that subscription plus the maintenance of the units. But I will finalize that. I mean, I will check that.
We'll look into it.
Virgil, that's probably our understanding of it, but we didn't know for sure. But Jim will check into it and probably get back to you. Okay, Jim.
So we're on the golf rates now?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So as you know, we've got the new program that we're doing for the second year that we call it the free golf membership, which relates to purchase of a residence in Sun and Lake by people who qualify who haven't been past owners or members for over 100 days. And those are starting to expire. And based on the time that they expire, it puts the person who's had the membership and enjoyed it in a unique situation in the fact where they might have 30 days or 45 or 60 days left here in Florida before our membership renews. And so the situation that they're posed with now is if they had a family membership and it expires March 1st, and they're going to be here for one more month, what's offered to them currently is just a proration of the family membership. So when we're looking at it, March 1st would be the 6th month of our fiscal year, so they would have to pay for 7 months of a membership. They would end up paying over $2,000 to play golf here for 1 month if they were going to extend that membership. So that's not a practical situation for the people that are expiring, and they still want to be members, but based on that choice of paying over $2,000 for 1 month, they're not going to exercise that membership. So it occurred to myself and a number of people that we want to keep them with that idea of being a member and playing here at Sun and Lake instead of playing at other places. So to look at that from talking to Tanya, and then I would also ask David Schumacher to weigh in on this. Today, the only options that we can offer to these expiring free family members that I understand is that we can offer them a proration of one of our current memberships. Is that correct, David?
Well, I don't know that we have to do anything. I think that that's an option that we've been exploring. But it's pretty much up to the board. This is a very unique circumstance, and it's not something that's going to be repeated, obviously. So I think that's that's what we're here to discuss today, is how we want to resolve that.
I just didn't know from speaking with Tanya, I was under the impression that if we came up with just a figure ourselves that said we would offer this per month figure to these expiring memberships, does that have to be presented in a resolution form and then voted on at a subsequent meeting?
Yeah, well, if we're not going to be establishing a new rate because it's individualized to the person. So I think that probably the easiest thing to do is when these 1 year, if the board can establish a procedure on how that's going to be calculated, that's probably the easiest way to do it. Okay. So we do it because we're not going to establish a new rate because new rates must be published. So what we're doing is developing a policy on how we're going to deal with these expiring 1 year memberships.
Okay, so the fee structure of what this would be, we can, if the board chose to, they could determine that today?
Absolutely.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So what I would propose then is that we come up with a fee structure that's reasonable for these expiring members, that makes it logical for them to continue their membership, and then tie that into what I would call a non-refundable deposit towards a membership next year. So it isn't such that they can just say, I want to pay $800 for the month of March, and then they don't come back and renew their membership, which is the whole point of the program. It would be that if we decided, and I'll just pick 800 as a number, if we decided to have a monthly fee of $800, where they could extend their membership for 1 or 2 months for $800 a month for the family, then they would put down a non-refundable deposit of, say, $1,000 towards a membership the next year. So they would get a benefit of saving money. A 3-month membership for a couple, prorated to the month, runs about $1,200 for the family. It's actually $617 per person. A 5-month prorated for the couple would run a little bit over $950. So an $800 or $700 number, which to me, for a month would be quite a bit of discount off those 2 fees, would let them save money and stay as a member, and then also give us an opportunity to keep them going forward into the next year.
I got some questions here.
Any questions or
Yes.
comments?
What, the family membership of 40, give me the exact figure on that. 42. About 4,200.
Yes, it breaks down into $273.39 a month. Family membership total is $45.21.82.
And it breaks down to what?
$273 and, pardon me, $376.75 a month.
Okay, David, I have a question here. If we give them the benefit and just break it out and charge them a monthly fee, which would be, they could take it for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months at that figure, $376, whatever it was. And can we put a figure on it, say $1,000 retainer that would apply towards their $4,200 next year, which is a non-refundable? Is that?
Well, what I would do is I would say that because obviously each person is going to be individualized because their 1-year membership was based on when they turn their water on here in the district. So I would look at, the question is how much longer, because obviously some of these people are seasonal. And so if their membership is expiring in March, but they're not returning to, they're not going back up north until, May or June, what we need to do is establish that. And so I like the idea of the proration, but what we need to do is we don't want to say it's, $376.75 per month and then let them buy monthly increments. No, you're going to be here for an additional 2, 3, 4 months, and so your charge is X.
Okay,
Which is based on that 360.
And that's what I was basing it off of, yes.
Yeah, and if you want to take advantage of that, you're also going to have to put down a deposit for your membership, your annual membership, which starts up in October, is it? October. And that's the conditions. And if we're not requiring that they do it. Obviously, they can choose not to do it, and then when October rolls around, they can buy their family membership or not.
That would make it very fair for them because their rate stays at a yearly type rate, and their $1,000 deposit will be used on next year, and that helps guarantee us that they retain their membership.
They're likely going to come back. Exactly.
Okay, that's the questions I had. Thank you.
Any other comment?
Yeah, I have one. I think if we do this, so something doesn't happen down the road, and someone else try to jump in on this, is that it be just a new residence situation. We received a free membership for a year. It doesn't apply to anybody else.
Correct. Yeah, we're not establishing a new rate.
Right.
This is just a way to bring people current on so that they can start the recurring annual membership.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I'm just saying that so we can put closure to this. Someone doesn't sit at home, somebody trying to figure out how they can get into this system. So it's like that, because that will happen.
Oh, you think?
Yeah, this would
So
only
it'll
be
be new
applicable-
residents only, and it'll only apply to the seasonal people.
Yeah, and it'll only be one time. Once their 1 year free 1 year membership expires, that's the only time they're going to be able to exercise this option. Nobody else would ever have the ability to exercise this option. It's a one-time.
I can go with that.
Wally, it wouldn't necessarily apply to seasonal people because if you live down here year-round, you would have like 7 or 8 months from right now to pay.
Yeah, up to October.
Okay. Okay.
Right. Well, the year-round people are already covered under our current policy. So someone who's expiring March 1st and is staying through September, they can just buy a prorated, pay per month for the family, which would be logical. And then what I think we wouldn't want to do is you wouldn't want to have someone who is expiring say they expired in November. They just had 1 month. I don't think you'd want to give that person the option of having a 6-month membership at the 12-month rate when they really only were 1 month into the program. So that's the problem with me and the balancing act of you don't want to price it too low, which to me, if you just did 1/12 of the full membership, that's going to be too low. And you don't want to price it too high that it's restrictive. But because the people we're talking about, we're establishing that we're doing this for seasonal people. And so if you look at our seasonal rates for a couple, it's just rounding it, it's $1,200 a month for a couple if they choose a 3-month rate, membership, and it's $950 a couple if they choose a 5-month membership. And so we're not locking them in. When we give them this special rate, we're not locking them into a $4,500 membership. Is the $1,000 deposit say they have to be full members the next year? Or it just means they have to be members? So, because a lot of them are going to come back and be members, but they're going to pick the 3-month or the 5-month based on what works for them.
You said the full year was $376 or something like that?
Yes, it's $376 a month for a full year family.
And it's $950 for a 5-month and $1,200 for
Well,
3 months?
yeah, there's single memberships.
I know that.
So, yes,
Double.
so exactly. It's $483.60 for a 5-month per person, and it's $617 for a 3-month per person.
Jim, do we know how many out of the new owners currently that we have, do we know how many of those are seasonal and how many of those are year-round residents?
So of the free family memberships?
Out of the free memberships we have, my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is that when the water is turned on, they're entitled to a 1-year free membership if it's the first time buyer, et cetera, et cetera. And the only stipulation they have is to pay a trail fee, okay? And then they get that 1-year membership. Is that?
That's correct.
That's the problem.
That's correct.
Okay. So the list that I received, I think you sent it to me, or maybe even Jamie sent it to me.
Sure.
Every one of those people on that list had paid a trail fee. Is that a correct statement?
That's correct.
Is that verified? Do we know they paid it?
Oh, sure, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only way they can get on the list is to pay the
trail
If
fee.
they don't pay the trail fee, the free family isn't enacted.
Okay. So all of those on the list are, I think there's 18 people. Do we know how many of those are seasonal?
I wouldn't give you an exact figure, but my perception is 80%. It's a
seasonal.
high number. It's a high number, yes.
Okay. I've had several people come to me. I don't know if this proration can start a problem. We certainly want these people to continue to join, as you say. I've had some people come to me recently in the last couple of months saying, why can't we have a 6-month program, which is a subject for a whole nother time. However, if you're totally restricting this to people that buy homes, is that a true statement?
Yes, my understanding, and I think David would verify, is that whatever we would decide is only applicable to people whose free family membership, their 1-year membership is expiring, and it would only apply for the remainder of the year that it expires in. And then that offer would not be available to anyone else or to them in any subsequent years.
I can see this issue coming up, because people are always going to be buying property, hopefully, and it will also be expiring at all different times of the year. Some of the people are going to be seasonal, as you said, and some aren't. As a thought in the future, maybe you defer that membership to start on October 1st, and then you'll really won't run into this problem. They'd come down, some of those people come down in October, November, they leave in April, but anyway, that would be so there would almost be a kind of a waiting period. It's just a thought, maybe for something for the future. I like the idea that you mentioned, and Kurt verified, that we give them a prorated monthly rate, but at the same token, I think we need to get some kind of commitment that they will be coming back. And I don't know if that is a $1,000 non-refundable or a $1,500 non-refundable. I'm not sure. That would be up to the board, I guess, to determine.
Well, and it makes sense to tie the monthly rate to the non-refundable rate. So, to me, it would be a wonderful deal to offer, these people the family rate prorated of $376.75, but you would obviously be more inclined to do that if they obligated themselves to the $4,500 membership the next year. So if they say they're going to do the program and do it exactly the way you said, then you could justify, taking a very low rate, because in season, a family being able to play golf at Sun and Lake in Sebring for $375 a month, just a seasonal month, is a huge discount. We've actually established that it's a $1,000 discount relative to the 3-month membership, and it's a $500 membership discount relative to the 5-month membership. So it's a huge discount. So if you wanted to do that, you would want to, in my mind, obligate them to the whole, full family the next year.
Any other comment?
But we've already been discussing the family. Is there any single people out there who build a house fall into this?
There are a few. I would say, well, they don't really designate. So in other words, right now, when they pay their trail fee, up till this point, because our trail fee, the way we handle trail fees changed from 2016 to 17. So in 2016, when you had a cart and you used a club cart, you paid $5.
Right.
Now, if you don't own your own cart, you pay $200 as a single and $300 as a family. So the new people that are joining up, they're having to decide $200 or $300 when they join up and don't have a cart. And then we're getting a feel whether they're single or family. But my perception from meeting the people is that roughly about 70% are single players, 65 to 70% are family, and then 30% are single.
So are we going to charge the singles the same rate, the $376, whatever it is, the singles or the family?
Well, right now, we're establishing what we would charge them. I would think we would do a lower rate for a single if they wanted to extend single.
So are we talking about, to generalize it by saying a monthly rate, prorated to 12 into whatever you pay for a year?
Mm-hmm.
It would be a number we'd be voting on. It would be the statement.
Right.
That it's going to be a monthly rate.
Right, monthly rate.
Okay, that'll solve that problem then.
Yeah, I guess where I'm on a different feeling or a business analysis is that, to me, to give the monthly rate is too big of a discount, in my opinion, to give someone the option to just take a 1-month membership for $375.
We're still talking the $1,000 to go apply for the next year. So,
correct.
So they're obligated for almost $1,400 in that 1-month membership. If they don't renew it, we've still got their $1,000.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned the end of the year, like if it expires in November. I can't see any difference if it expires in November. I mean, if you break it down this way, we still get the same amount for the following year, and we've got them for 1 more year.
Yes, well, my concern, and it's not a concern, but from a business decision, we've given them a free year. We've let them experience the club. They're either sold on the club or not. Now, what we're trying to do is we're trying to continue the goodwill that we've done. But for example, if I bought my house in November and I got a whole year, so I've gotten a full season for the cost of a trail fee, now if I am just going to be here for 4 more months, for another $1,000, you're giving me a whole nother year. So my whole total outlay for my family for 2 years of belonging to Sun and Lake would be approximately about a little over $3,000. That's great if that's our intention, but that's a huge discount on what someone, would normally pay.
David, I don't know if this is David or Jim. If I'm correct, and once again, I'd have to look it up, the free membership for these first-time homeowners was a full membership family, whether you were single or not. It was a family membership contingent upon a trail fee. Now, what are you saying the trail fees they pay are? Because I know if they have a card or they don't have a card, you made the distinction, and I thought they paid roughly $1,100 for the trail fees.
They do, but starting this year, even for our members, if you didn't own a golf cart, you paid an extra surcharge for that privilege. So the new free families, when they buy a house, if they have their own golf cart, it's the same trail fee that a regular member pays of $10.80. But if they don't own a golf cart, then they either pay $12.80 if they're extending it for a single privilege, or $13.80 if they're extending it for a family privilege.
Okay, so there's an upcharge. I just wanted to make sure that because I knew there was an add-on at one point. So now my other question would be, since we sold this, and I don't know if it's a policy or what, but since we promoted this as a family membership, can we prorate to a single membership for these added months? In other words, the people that need these additional months, shouldn't we be, even if they're a single person, shouldn't we be charging them a family rate for those add-on months until they come back and then decide or establish whether they want a 3-5-month single?
Well, that's what I would say, since what they've received is a free family membership. So that's what we should prorate. Is a family membership. Okay. And the deposit can be used. I mean, they can make a decision. Will say, well, I'm going to prorate this. I'm going to take this prorated rate of the family membership, and here's my deposit. But I'm not going to buy a family membership when I come back. I'm going to buy a single. They can use that deposit however they want if they renew.
That's fine. I just want to make sure I understood that clearly. Yeah.
One statement I would say is I think we're in a window, and David, you can tell me, but it appears the prudent thing to do would, no matter what we do now, it's only going to affect us for a short period now. So in other words, the people who are staying the whole summer, the proration is already available for them. The people we're really trying to deal with are people whose membership is expiring pretty much from today through basically the end of April. So we really only have about a 60-day window that this is going to affect. And then I think we could actually, especially in our budget cycle, look at this on a longer term. So I think it would be best with whatever we said, that it doesn't tie us into next year or anything such as that. Because I don't want to set something today as we're trying to work our way through a difficult challenge and, obligate ourselves far into the future.
Sorry, it went viral.
But this would come back again next year.
It's going to come back every time somebody buys a house.
We're going to do it again, right? I mean,
well, as long as we maintain this, as long as we maintain this,
exactly.
If you have this pattern, it's every year we're going to incur this. That's why I kind of indicated maybe we should push off their memberships to the first when they start, the first of the year, or the 1st of October, I should say.
That does not work because it's a selling tool to sell a new house, and when you string that back, the selling tool has just disappeared.
Well, how many? Do we have any statistics on the people that did buy because that was a free membership? Did anybody ever ask them, why did you buy here?
I can tell you, Mark, that correct me if I'm wrong, but we had 16 people buy homes during this time. 14 of them took the free membership.
Took the free membership, but did they buy here because of the free membership is my question. We
Are
don't
you
know.
ever going to know?
We never know that.
Oh, it'd be nice to follow up and get those stats.
No, we can ask them. I know personally that 2 or 3 of the members said that it affected their buying decision. So, I know one person specifically that was, looking at a $60,000 or $70,000 condo. So the $3,000 discount, that was a 5% discount on the purchase of their residence.
I mean, I believe it's working well. I was just wondering if there's any stats on it, if anybody's kind of got the information.
I don't know if you could believe what they say anyway.
That's right.
Yeah, I think the biggest one that shows me that it's working is one of the people that is expiring. When they first looked at the program and they looked at the trail fee and they did the math, they were like, well, maybe it'll work for us, maybe it won't. That's about what we're spending now. And then they became members and they went from being 2-day-a-week players to being 5-day-a-week players. And now next year they're going to do a full family. So that would be, to me, the actual case study. They're your people that you were trying to get, that once they saw the lifestyle and started playing 4 and 5 days a week, they saw the value of the full family membership, where when it was first offered, they were wondering if it was even going to be worth $1,100. And now the next year, they're going to pay $4,500.
I mean, that's a great success story.
Yeah, those are the people we're trying, to sell, because they're the ones that are in the middle. And we convinced them that playing at Sun and Lake and being at Sun and Lake, was worth that privilege of membership.
Okay, I got a question for you. This trail fee, if I buy a house today, what am I going to pay you right now up front to have a free membership?
Well, if we were roughly 5 months into the fiscal year,
No, forget that part. Just today, I buy a house.
You buy a house today.
And I want to take advantage of the free membership, so what am I going to write you a check for today?
Do you own a cart or not own a cart?
I do not own a cart.
Okay, and do you want the privilege to be for just yourself, or for just your wife, or for you and your wife?
Now, see, that's where I'm confused, because this is a family membership, so why is there an option there? You should pay a trail fee for a family. There should be no single trail fee, number one. And secondly, it's a family, so what am I going to pay you?
Right. A family would be $1,380.
Okay. Fine. To me, that's the only charge there is, period.
And that is the only charge there is, but where we have been applying that differently, and I guess you would say improperly, is we have allowed them to take out a single trail fee if the wife didn't play.
I don't think.
And I don't know how many people that have applied to, but we tried to line it up with what we were doing with the membership.
Yeah, I think you probably need to go to what Kurt says is the flat 1380 family. Guys, do you want to, does somebody want to make a motion to what, or you want Jim to?
Well, there's nothing to vote on, but what my recommendation would be is, the big question is, do we want to offer a prorated rate? And so, I mean, if there's a consensus that yes, we want to offer a prorated rate, Jim and I can work on coming up with something to bring back to the board on how that process is going to work. So the main thing is, I call it a prorated rate. We're not establishing any new rate. This is just a way to calculate how we're going to deal with these expiring one-year memberships.
We already have 2 or 3 people expired, though. What are we going to do to them, or for them right now? I mean, I agree with what you just said, David, but we got people that want answers.
Well, I say that then if a prorated rate is what it is, my recommendation would be the family, they received a free family membership, so we come up with the prorated rate of the family membership, and then we can decide, and they can decide, I don't know if we want to pick a number now as far as as what sort of deposit. I just think that the deposit should be based on what they I don't know what they intend to come back with. Like I say, if they're going to come back and purchase a a full family membership, the deposit is X. If it's going to be a single membership, it's going to be Y, however, whatever deposit they want to.
What makes the difference? Why not
I don't know
just
that
a
it does.
straight deposit, period? Doesn't make a better difference, I
It
don't
doesn't.
think.
No. As long as it doesn't exceed, the deposit, as long as it doesn't exceed
Question is,
what the maximum membership they could get. In other words, it shouldn't be a $4,000 deposit if they're ultimately only going to buy a 3-month.
Exactly.
And if you say that's non-refundable, then
Yeah,
you're
non-refundable.
going to get a,
$1,000 or $1,500, just
and everything that's prorated will be on a monthly basis. You're not going to split it to 15 days and 10 days or anything like
Yeah,
that, right? Okay.
I think,
monthly and family.
I think we need to decide some of these parameters, and then,
I'd go for $1,000
so I
deposit.
think we need to decide here.
So the monthly rate's gonna be $376.75, is that correct? That's what we're gonna charge to extend the free membership.
Correct.
That's what you
Do I-
sent out, right?
Is that what you wanted, Jim?
That's the proration of the full family. I
Okay.
mean, I think that can be problematic that it's too low, but.
Does
um,
that include trail fee for a month or 3 months or whatever?
That does include trail fee prorated trail fee as long as they own their cart. If they don't own their cart, then there would be, the proration of the $300.
Right.
So it'd be an extra $25 a month. If they didn't own their cart, it would be $401.75.
Right.
If they don't own their cart.
So why don't we just make it $425 period and be done with it? Make it simple. Forget about the trail fees and all that. They want to extend it, it's $425 a month.
And 1,000,
And $1,000 deposit. I'd go for that.
I go for that.
How's that?
That's good to me.
So $425 a month, $1,000 deposit for next year's, and it's only available one time to the expiring 1-year, free 1-year
Yep.
memberships.
Right.
Yes.
What was it,
Okay.
1,000 you said?
Should I have?
Nope, I wouldn't.
Okay.
This
They don't
was,
do 1,000, they
I
don't.
wouldn't get into that.
Correct.
Okay, we have a presentation by Ron Garl. Can-
We'll play a little bit of devil's advocate on
I don't know if we,
Up to you, Mr. President.
Comments till afterwards.
It's up to you.
why don't you cover it under public comment? Okay, please. We have a presentation of, I saw Ron walk in, he's here somewhere. Okay. Ron, you want to come up? Ron Garl's having something on the golf tee.
Great, right here. I don't need any notes. Is this thing on?
It is.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for me being here. I don't have a formal presentation, as I've only been given a little notice to come by and see everybody. I want to thank the committee members and the supervisors, that's y'all's official title. And I met several of them last night, had a great dinner here. I want to first start by saying that Jim Kurtzburn and I have been friends for 20 years. He was at one of my other clubs called Fiddlesticks. It's $86,000 to join there, and the dues are $1,000 a month. You guys, and Ramon Perez back there, him and his brother have been friends of mine. You are very fortunate to have people of this caliber. Billy Casper has hundreds of golf courses, and you got 2 of their stars here. Let me tell you, you're really fortunate to have these guys here. And I design and build golf courses. I've been in the business for 40 years. I just finished my 250th golf course. Recently, we finished one for the King of Thailand and for the Lady President. Tiger Woods won a tournament on one of my courses in Thailand. We work all over the world. We're currently working for the King of Morocco. I fly to Casablanca and go to meetings. And then I fly to he has 2 royal palaces. One's on the Mediterranean and one's at Casablanca on the Atlantic Ocean. And I stay in a villa at the Royal Palace there. it's really great to be at Sun and Fun because I can drive here only about an hour from my home. I don't have to go to New York, get on an airplane, and fly to these fancy places. So this is a really neat community. What I would tell you about, they asked me to come in and study the tees, which is very complicated. I did the largest study ever done with Golf Magazine on how far people hit golf balls, where tees should be, those kind of things. So I'm well qualified to do this kind of thing, though I will not make anybody and everybody happy. It's very complicated. When you get into tees, you not only talk about length of the holes, you talk about angles that they play it, you talk about the strategy that it does to the golf hole. So it's a very complicated issue, even though it seems very simple. But it's an important issue because it keeps people playing, keeps them in the game. And this is a golf community. One thing I would like to do in the future is come back. I've got a really elaborate dog and pony show that I would like to show y'all sometime and get into some of the things that I think the tees, what you do with the tees is only the first step of what you should be considering at your golf course here. The reason for that is not for the golf course. If you keep the golf course up to date, constantly improve it, it's going to protect the value of your homes. That's what good golf courses do. I did a large study with the University of Florida. If a golf course closes, your home goes down 40% in value the first day. And it takes almost 7 or 8 months longer to sell it at the lower rate. So the golf course drives the value of the homes, and most people I'm looking around here are going to sell their homes in the future sometime. And your kids sent me texts this morning, said, make sure you protect the value of those homes there. So what I would like to do is come back sometime. Jim and I are just getting started on the tee locations. As far as how many we're going to do, where they're going to be, we'll talk about that in the presentation also. But what I would like to add to that presentation that I think is very important is what are you going to do to the golf course in the future to protect the value of your homes? At that time, I'll get into why that's important also. It gets into, as communities age and the people that buy them and the age of the people that replace them in their homes and what percentage of those are playing golf. It's a very important topic that we get into communities. You want to be careful that you don't age out, and the people that buy the homes here will pay less for them because they're getting older and because less of them play golf. So I can show you direct correlations to why it's important to keep improving your golf course, and I look forward to doing that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Does anyone have a question? Can Ron handle questions now
Yes.
from anybody relative to the tees?
And, board have any first, or you want to wait? Okay, public comment.
Got through that pretty easy.
Public question.
I love this place.
Bill Norcross, and welcome, Ron. I'm quite familiar with Ron. We both have a very dear friend that passed away. Anyhow, my question is just off the top of my head here is how much construction work would you suggest for each 18 holes? I mean, we have, 5 tees out there right now. And we have a lot of controversy, obviously, just as you said. And the problem is that the girls kind of slighted a little bit because we have men hitting very close to the girls. And in tournaments where we have a scramble, you take the girls out of the play because most fellows will hit the ball further than most girls. So I just hope you take this into consideration in different style of play, so that the girls can participate just a little bit more than they do. Thank you.
We will consider that, and that's a valid point. Thank you very much. And our dear friend, Jack O'Leary, we miss him very much.
I do too.
Just so I know, Jim and Ron, you're going to come back? I mean, because I think most of us thought there might be a presentation today, but what's your thoughts on when it will be? And because I think there's a lot of interested people out here today to see what you do.
Yeah, I would say we would come back within 30 days. Yeah, we don't have any set time for it at this time. Give me a few days and I'll get back with a time for that.
Okay.
Yes, we'll have some drawings at that time to show you where some of the Ts would be, yes.
Is there any other questions from the board?
No, that's the main thing.
I think there's just for the public, I think there's at least $35,000 budgeted for the T work.
That's
Now,
correct.
We don't know exactly if we can come up with more money if it's needed or what, but that's just for your notice out there. Okay, thank you, Ron, and get back to us as quick as you can. Thank you. Is there any add-on items?
No, sir.
Petitions and communications?
Yes. We have received letters from the owners on Sunrise Drive, landowners on Sunrise Drive. The letters that we received are from Mr. David McDonald, the Bodenweiser family, Devaney family, Mrs. Vickerman, the McNeils, the DeColas, and the Van Veens. And they have written to the district expressing their opinion and thoughts on the Sunrise Drive drainage program.
Is there any comment?
Is there anyone here from Sunrise Drive?
Okay, Tanya, I have one question. The letter that went out, did they understand that this 2,600 or the 5,200 is driveways, is their portion of driveways only, that we're standing the rest of it? Is that how, we didn't see the letter, that's what I'm
okay.
asking.
Yes, the letter went out explaining that it's a $2,600 charge to the homeowner for the driveway. We have 3 homeowners on that street that have double driveways. So that is a $5,200 charge. Now, this project is a $57,000 project that we're proposing today. And it is responsibility of the homeowner to replace the driveway. And in this case, there are no culverts on that street. So it is a driveway replacement as part of the project.
But we are doing the actual, we're paying for the actual work.
We are doing the work.
Okay.
Does anybody from there want to speak to us now? Come on up.
Good morning. Nettie Bodenweiser. My only thing is, I understand that this has been a problem throughout the district and that you have taken care of other streets in the district regarding this water problem that we have. And I don't understand why all of a sudden it's our responsibility to pay for this when you have charged no one else.
Ma'am, we have charged other people.
That was
We
not
just
my
finished.
understanding.
Well, we did. We just finished a project over on the ABC streets, is what we call them, and they had to pay for the replacement of their driveway and their culvert. We did the work for free, but they had to fix their driveway.
Well,
Okay,
I'm
just to
totally
let you know
against
what. Okay.
Totally against it.
This is nothing we've imposed on you guys that we haven't somebody else.
My name is Henry Van Veen. I live on 2200 Sunrise Drive. The house was built in '97 in the summer, and there was no water problem. After about 10 years living there, the water started accumulating, and it gets worse every year. Now, my feeling is that it comes from construction work or drainage work that has happened in the inner circle of Manor Hill. So successively, it came down like passing the buck to that area. So the last 10 years, we had that water problem. So it's the cause and effect that is really affecting, that is the cause of the problem. So if you live there, you really wonder whether you're really responsible for that because it took something else. The other option might be, or the fact, that whole area is sinking because it becomes a pond, the whole area. I sent some pictures to the board.
Yeah, we've all went out and looked. We
It's
know what it
really
looks like.
a serious issue. So it's been, going on for the last 10 years, and it would be nice to see something done about it. But I thought that drainage and water maintenance would be a responsibility for the district and not for the individual owners. If there are consequences to that, I don't think that we should be liable for that, because it is a result of something that happened in the past, or whatever management or whatever water problem there was. That's all I want to say. And I hope it will be resolved.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Ray Bodenweiser. I'm 88 years old. My neighbor across the street is 90. We're living on budgeted incomes. Now, that's one thing. You also read, according to the letter, that the irrigation problem is also your problem. I spoke to LaRoe. They came out to the house. They suggested before this project gets going that they come over, remove any of the lines that are going to be affected by this project. And then when it's done, after the project is done, they come back and they reconnect this thing. He said, if you don't do that, they're going to tear up your lines and you're going to have double the expense. Well, Mr. Rowe, how much is this going to cost me? He looked around and he says, approximately $1,000. So now we're talking, in my case, what, $5,400, something like that, in addition to another $1,000. That's unbelievable and unaffordable. Thank you.
Okay. Drew, could you come up and, could you address any of their concerns or help us?
The whole thought process behind replacing the driveways is when we come in and do any kind of work, like in the ABC streets, like in their case, the culverts had failed. So we have to maintain it. We were providing that service for them. They can't necessarily replace the culvert without ripping up the driveway and putting it back in. That's the same case with this, where we're putting in sock pipe. We can't drill under it. We can't do any other method other than to remove the portion of the driveway and put it back once we get the sock pipe installed. So to keep everything fair and to keep everything the same as we've done for other residents, that's when we propose to have the resident pay for the portion of the work that's going through it. It's realistically, they're only going to be paying for the driveway removal and replacement, not the actual pipe improvement, since you didn't have an existing pipe that you are replacing. So that's a minor difference in the two cases, but that's what we had to do to keep everything fair. Because if we did everything no charge to the resident this time, that means everything we've done in the past for maintenance for other people's driveways, then they could come back and say, why didn't you do ours for no charge? At least that's been the discussion in the past.
Okay. Thank you, Drew.
I'll address a little bit of this as well. What everybody needs to understand is the work that's being done is in the road right of way. So this is not anything that's being done onto your property. This is the district's property. If your irrigation is on district property, that's not the district's fault. That's whoever installed it.
Because they have demanded, or not demanded, but it's in the rules or the homeowners association that we have sprinkler systems in Manor Hill. And when they come in there to put those sprinkler systems in, they put them on the edge of the road to keep the lawns green. Now, if that's the case, I've been mowing your grass for 11 years.
And you'll always mow.
Well, that's correct. That's correct.
So, and therefore, maybe you should be paying me for mowing your grass.
Well, you don't. Well, then I guess we could talk about whether or not you're trespassing on district property. I mean, those type of semantics are pointless.
Well, absolutely.
The fact of the matter is this is district property. And if we're going to, we need to remove these driveways in order to make the drainage work the way it's supposed to work. We don't have any responsibility to replace them. It's that simple. So if you'd like us to replace them, no, we can, the charge is the $2,600 per installation. Otherwise, you're free to go out and have someone else replace them for you.
So what you're saying that you're going to go ahead with the project anyway.
No, I'm not saying that at all. That's up to the board.
Yeah, we have the option to go ahead and do it, and I guess kind of sense force this, or we don't have to do anything at all. But I can tell you, and I'm not exactly if I'm talking for everybody, but if the homeowners don't want it, we just won't fix your drainage problem. Until we have to, and then we might have to do that. But again, I'd like to have anybody say anything that, because I don't want to exactly speak for them, but we do have options. We don't have to fix all that water. I mean,
I would be for setting it back, let's set it back in our list of areas that we're working on, and since there's that many of them that really don't want it right now, but just postpone that particular thing, use that money for something else this year, and we'll get into it a year from now, or 2 years from now, or 5 years from now.
What do you think?
I agree with what Larry's saying. I think that we ought to look at withdrawing it out of that particular part of the project. In the December meeting, I actually brought up specifically the subject to say we should get in touch with these people. I tried to table at that time. So I am fully, if they don't want it done, then I don't think that we should be forcing them to do it at this point in time. If it gets to a situation where now it affects a lot of other areas, then we can revisit it. That's just my thought once again.
Kurt?
My only thought is the people that are actually affected, are these the people that are here today? Or are these the people that are not affected by the water issue and just don't want their driveway tore up? So things will never get any better unless you fix them as you go along. So I guess I'm opposing the other two guys and saying it's time to move forward, fix the areas that need to be fixed, because if we don't fix this one, we're going to go fix another one, and you still have the problem there. So it's just a situation of ranking them and putting them in a work order proposition. Eventually, it's going to happen, and maybe you wait a year, and then your driveway is going to cost you $3,000 to fix it instead of $2,600. So I don't see any reason to delay it myself.
Okay. Wally?
Well, no, I agree with you all. If I count, there's 13 signatures here. Does that include, is that everybody's going to be affected by that? How many houses are going to be affected?
7 homeowners. Seven.
Okay, well, looks like people don't want it.
7 of 10 driveways. 7 homeowners, 10 driveways.
If it's not wanted.
The people are opposing it.
Yeah, well, I kind of agree too if we set it back, but Drew, can you answer how long you think this problem will take to fix, that we have to force them to fix it? Do you have any estimations?
What do you mean by how long it'll take?
Because the water, I've seen the water there. It's not good for the people who live there, but, and I know that a lot of the places that have the water are not where the driveways are. So
There's some flooding past where the driveways are getting replaced, and some of the new sock pipe is going to continue on past the replaced driveways, but unfortunately those driveways are in the path of the sock pipe that's proposed to be installed. I can't tell you much more than, and it's unfortunate for them to have to replace the driveway there, but it's either going to be sock pipe or some other kind of pipe if that's not the end up solution, if we determine something else in the future, or there's no other way to provide drainage for the areas that are impacted unless we go through this area right now.
So we're saying that in the next couple of years, it won't get, it's not going to get any better, but will get a lot worse?
That's hard to say. Each house you put in, you're going to incrementally increase your impervious area, which is going to produce slightly more runoff. It just depends on if it's staging up and causing an issue in that particular area. I would say it's only going to get slightly worse the more homes you put in, but it's hard to say actually how much, or if. I believe all the water currently is percolating to the ground, so the more rainfall you get, the more you're going to notice it.
Okay. Thank you. Mike?
Yeah. Could we table this for this meeting and let Drew and I sit down and go over this project one more time? Because I have some ideas. These people can't afford it, and I understand that, and I met with a lot of them. We are going to do a payment plan, but I think if Drew and I go back and go over this, I have a couple ideas that maybe we can make it a lot cheaper for the homeowner. So if you don't mind that we table it, I absolutely think we should do it, and I'm with Kurt.
It's up to you,
You know?
to the board here what they want to do.
This project was awarded, the bid was awarded for this project. So in order to remove the project from the bid, we would need to do a change order. But the fact remains that the driveways still have to be replaced.
Exactly. But I have
Okay.
a few ideas, and I'd like to sit with Drew before I bring them up to everybody, and just bring it back to the next meeting for the homeowners themselves.
Is that okay?
I mean, if everybody's okay with that, I think there's a couple ways that we could go. I mean, I know I'm a little out of order with this, but I've been dealing with this for the last month and stuff, and I think there's a way that we can get it done, do it right, and it'll be more cost effective for the homeowners.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, well, apparently, it appears that the excavation point is planning to start this project on March 1st. So if we're
In
going...
Unit 2 they're starting, so they're not starting on Sunrise
Okay.
immediately, but.
Yeah, but Sunrise wasn't number one, was it?
No.
No, so I wouldn't think they'd be first.
Okay.
They were like 5, the
Okay.
fifth one.
Okay.
Folks, I hate to bother you with this, but I think that's what we'll probably do because none of us up here want to cost you money, but we do have problems that aren't ours, whether you think they are or not. We want to get it fixed for you and, to do the best we can for the district. So we're going to delay this and till the next meeting, is it? What, Mike?
Yes, that's fine.
And then we'll try to make a decision then. But we're not picking on people on Sunrise. We just want stuff fixed. Okay.
Pat Holmes, homeowner. I live in a condominium, and this happened years ago, about 8 or 9 years ago, that we had a culvert box fail on us in our condominium, and I brought it to the board at that time, and they said, it's your responsibility to fix it. If the culverts fail, it's your responsibility to fix it. If the culvert box fails, it's your responsibility. We fixed the culvert box, and it was our cost. Thank you.
Okay, staff report.
Gene Gangemi. The lady over there brought up a good point as far as maintaining the easement that the district has. We water the grass, we cut the grass, we fertilize the grass. That's at our expense. A number of years ago, there was a culvert that was cleaned out that ran across, somewhere around 2020 Sunrise, and it ran across the fairway, and they cleaned out a culvert. They pulled out fish and turtles and everything else out of there. Now, that wasn't on any of the homeowners' tab, right?
Right.
So why is this?
I wasn't here, but I remember it. And
They cleaned it out, and so that wasn't on any homeowner's tab at that time. The district did that. So I totally agree with the people that are involved in that. The county signed off on that, and whether it was bad materials or whatever it was, it shouldn't be the homeowners that have to pay to replace their driveway or replace the street, because we had nothing to do with it. We just signed the paper. We're not experts in drainage. We don't have that expertise. So I think it's up to the board, it's up to the district to pay for this, because I think the money that they collect from the assessments goes into a maintenance fund, and that money should be used to fix it. You're talking $54,000, right? How much money have you spent today on all the other things that you've done? These people need a break. I'm not even going to talk about Miranda. That's coming up later. But you haven't done anything for Miranda either as well. Thank you.
realize how many millions of dollars they...
Yeah, for some reason, I probably basically agree with you, but that's not the way it works. We do not have to maintain that, and we don't for Miranda Homes. They turned us down, we made them the same offer.
Is there case law on this?
David?
Is there case law that we're not responsible for that? Or no one has looked into it?
I'll be happy to look into it.
You have looked into it?
I will be happy to look into it.
Well, I think maybe we should. Because they shouldn't have to pay for this. No, they shouldn't. Our taxes have gone up double in the last 10 years.
Okay, thank you, sir. Staff reports.
None.
General counsel report.
Oh, yeah, a couple things. We have a hearing on the district's motion for summary judgment on the Griffin matter on March 3rd. Mr. Koji is going to be attending that, and we'll see whether or not the court dismisses 1, 2, or all 3 of the counts. Unfortunately, there is still no movement on the Ayala case. I checked it again this morning, and we still have no ruling from the judge. Last board meeting, I spoke about the issues of golf carts on Sun Lake Boulevard. I have since talked to the county attorney, and Sun Lake Boulevard is not on the list of approved roadways. So, golf carts are technically allowed to cross Sun Lakes Boulevard, but are not allowed to drive on Sun Lakes Boulevard because the road isn't, Sun Lake Boulevard is not on that list. Now we can talk about potentially bringing it back to the county engineer to place it on that list. But my discussion with him basically said that he would be willing to consider that, but probably not all of Sun Lake Boulevard. Possibly up by the circle by the district office and maybe down to the first circle. But beyond that point, he couldn't think of any reason why there would need to be golf carts, down that way driving on Sun Lake Boulevard. So it may take a little bit of wording, and he's aware there are signs up that say this is a golf cart community. Just as you reach in fact, right at that first bullhorn, there's a sign that says this is a golf cart community, and he's agreed that sign may need to be moved. So anyway, I'm looking into that, and hopefully we'll bring something back to the board if the board wants Sun Lake Boulevard placed on that list.
Okay.
That's all I've got.
Okay, thank you. General manager's report.
Yes, good morning, Supervisors. Tanya Kennedy, General Manager. The new garbage pickup day here in Sun and Lake will be on Thursdays, and Tanglewood residents, their garbage day will be on Fridays, starting next week. Also, just a couple updates on our projects. Bid number 17-01 has been posted to the district website. This is for the district office roof replacement. And a mandatory pre-bid meeting will be March 1st at 10 a.m., and a bid opening is March 14th at 2 p.m. For that project. As far as our Unit 23 wastewater treatment plant blowers, the cover structure has been, it's complete. The VFD switches that were approved by the board they're being installed. It should be installed today, I believe. And everything is on schedule for a March 1st completion on that project. Is there any other questions on projects? I know I've met with you individually and just talking about a few things on the maintenance facility. Again, we're just waiting for the concrete to cure. So there's not really anything going on this week, I don't believe. Okay.
But it is on schedule for June or July?
Well, the building's coming in March, I think, 17th. The building will get, so I think they're a couple weeks behind, but they're actually, for this area, they're on time.
Yeah.
Well, you understand that.
Yeah.
The two places that you've cleared, I don't know if everybody knows, but that might be a question. Is one
The
for
retention pond and one's the driveway.
Okay, and then they did one down by a telephone pole. Is that
Yeah,
for a wire?
They're bringing in some lines
Okay.
and stuff, yeah.
Okay. Because I know people want to know because they asked me, and of course I had to ask you too. So. Okay. Anything else for Tanya?
Nope.
Okay, unfinished business.
None.
New business.
No.
Committee reports.
No committee reports.
Okay. Public comment.
Jack Page, I'm a resident. I live on Matanza. I would like to make a comment about this garbage cart. We have a condo with 23 units. We are going to end up with 46 garbage cans. There was no, there's no provision in there that I can see that they've taken consideration of multiple units. And we don't know what, and we have absolutely no idea what we're going to do because we have no room for 46 garbage cans.
Just a minute,
sorry.
ma'am, just a minute.
But, you know, I just don't, I'd like to find out what they suggest that we do, because half our units are upstairs. We got, you know, 80-year-old women are not going to be dragging garbage cans up and down the steps. And we have no way of putting them outside in any one location because we don't have that much room. So I'd like some suggestions as what we could possibly do.
The first option, the county is providing, they will provide smaller cans. And they, first of all, they are going to deliver each owner a 96-gallon bin for garbage and a recycling bin.
I understand that. We're going to have 46 of them.
Yes, you are. And so initially, Sun and Lake is going to allow the condominium associations to work it out of how they're going to utilize their garbage to the curb. I mean, smaller cans will be available, I heard, in the future for residents. And if you, I believe sharing is an option if that's something that you would like to do. But the issue is the storage of the units.
Absolutely. Is there
Yes.
an option of a single dumpster type thing for the whole condo? One.
I don't know what unit you are. I believe there might be a couple of condos in Sun and Lake that have a dumpster, but I believe now if you don't have a dumpster, it's not an option.
If you don't, it's not an option.
I do not believe it is an option.
Is that what you- yeah. Well, what suggestions do you have? Because we have no place
Sir,
to put.
right, I understand that, but the district has not had any involvement in the implementation of this program. But we do want to, you know, we can provide suggestions on what you can do. I mean, Mike Hurley would be glad to meet with you. But your garbage cans, you can't leave them out on the road. I mean, that is not an option here in the district. It would be a code enforcement violation, but we're going to give homeowners plenty of time to work through
I understand all
that.
that, but I just
Yeah.
don't know what we're going to actually.
I understand that.
do. All right, thank you.
We, just to try to answer your question, we don't really like this either for some of the areas, but we don't have anything to do with it. We can't do anything except complain like you right now. I mean, this is something the county is going to do. Now, I don't know if Ron wants to talk about it, but Ron's our county commissioner.
Does he want to?
But
I'm glad I made it back.
Yeah, thanks for coming back.
I actually, Mike and I and some others had a meeting with one of the condo groups just earlier this week. And the suggestion I made is, first of all, you can change the unit, the size of the bins out. We're asking you to give it a 3-month trial period and see if it will work the way it is. If not, at no charge to you, you can change to a smaller receptacle. The reason we're going to recycling is because it hasn't been totally mandated by the state, but is highly recommended from the state level that by the year 2020 that our county is recycling 75% of our waste. Well, we're a long, long, long way from that. We're at like 18%. So that's why we've put into place the recycling program. For condos and apartments and stuff like that where you have, and multi-story, we suggest that you get together as a condo association and perhaps share your bin. And we can take the old bins back if you don't need them. For an example, if you have a 6-unit building, maybe you can get by with 2 96-gallon containers. I really don't know. Everybody's garbage and recycling is different. But that would be the easy answer, in my opinion, to try that first. If you can get by with that, then that eliminates from whatever you said, 20, 40, 43, maybe down to, I don't know, 15, whatever the number may be. Try that and see if that doesn't work. The other argument that we heard was within the district of Sun and Lakes that there are restrictions about having your container exposed to the drive-by traffic. Well, Sun and Lakes is gonna have to correct that, or they're gonna have to turn their head, because you're gonna get the containers. That is the garbage pickup, that's what the county has gotten, that's the agreement that we're under, so you're gonna be delivered those containers. If the district wants to amend their rules about whether they're exposed to the street traffic, then that's their business, or if you come up with some idea of how you're gonna hide them. Everywhere must have a spot that you could build a little blind and hide the receptacles. I know the place we met the other day, I mean, just standing there, I could see spots that you could build a little blind and put the cans behind it. Then we heard the argument that many of the people in the condos are just winter residents here, and they were uncomfortable with the 3-month trial, that they couldn't trade them in. You can trade these units in anytime you want to at no charge. So if you leave and go back home up north and you can't come back next year and you find that you can't stand the size of the receptacle, then we will change that out for you. And just to make everybody understand, you're going to be picked up your waste and your recyclables all the same day. 2 different trucks, but it'll be the same day. So is there any questions that I can?
Is there a possibility of a dumpster here?
Like Tanya said, if you don't have one now, there isn't presently now. Now you can petition the solid waste folks and talk to them and see if you can work out something, but I don't foresee that happening, because we've gone to a mechanical, rather than having people on the truck loading it, it's all mechanical now, so they just lift the can up with the machine.
These supplies that the county sent out?
Yes.
I'm looking at this.
Well, actually, the waste people sent that out through the county.
Through the county. When you go through here, it says additional prohibited items, glass, plastic bags, pressurized containers, glass, food waste.
It goes in the garbage. It goes in the other color. You have 2 containers. One will be, and I don't know the color scheme at this point, but one's for recyclable and one's for your regular waste like we've always had.
You need a plastic bag with blue.
I don't know which is the blue. Is it the recycle or the garbage?
Blue shot.
Then yeah, you can use the garbage. Yeah.
So can you put a dumpster out in front there?
Not if you don't presently have one, unless you can work something out with the hauler.
Or hire a private contractor to do it and just disregard the county?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
That's what you're.
I mean, you're still getting, you're still going to get on your tax bill, you're still going to get your garbage assessment.
Maybe so, but you have to get around these condo and townhouse problem, and you're not going to do it the way you're suggesting, at least I don't.
Well,
Ron, is there any chance that the county could set up where, like Mr. Page here said, we're going to have 46 units or garbage cans. Is there any way we can set this up so we only get, let's say, 20 garbage cans instead of getting the 47 or 46 delivered?
I can certainly touch base with them and see if we can, and say whatever the unit is, just send out half the containers if that's what you want. But that's one, I'm not sure everybody wants that.
That's exactly it. Each condo is different, but, most of the condos are 50% are here permanent, 50% are not.
Right.
So you're going to have all these garbage cans all over the place. And it's going to be, especially 96-gallon garbage cans. These aren't little.
Right.
And so it seems as though anybody that's in a unit, they could bring half the amount that are in that unit. And if they need more, they can always bring them back,
Well,
get more.
I think we'll have to do it on an individual basis with each condo association and each building. And if you can come together as a group in a building and cut it in half, then you let us know and we'll pass that along to the hauler and we'll pick up the ones you don't use.
Okay, just let you know.
You just let us know.
Okay, thanks, Ron.
Anybody else?
Who do they contact?
You can call the county office, and the girl's name is Gloria Rubinsky. I can't tell you her phone number right offhand.
Is there a solid waste office?
Is there a solid waste office within the county?
Yeah.
No, we have, it's
Who's county office?
Step in. Virgil, here, Danielle's got some.
It's Aren't they having them contact the hauler individually? I think that's what I gathered from the.
Well, we're actually in the process of trying to get someone at the county level that'll be there to answer the telephone and be the go-between. It's any day now. We're gonna try to get that in line so that they can call the county number and they'll walk them through it.
Okay.
I don't have any of those phone numbers with me, but I can get them for you. Either the hauler.
What's the target date to deliver here?
Sir?
What's the target date for something like
You-
to be delivered all these?
Within the next week. Within the next week. I didn't know if some had already
We don't
been showing
know.
up.
We don't even know a day yet.
We don't
We don't
know.
know.
They're putting them out now. They're going all
If
over
you
the
don't,
county putting them
if you
out.
don't have a can on Thursday, still put out your garbage on Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay?
When you get your can, then the following week, what day is it? Wednesday?
Thursday.
Thursday.
Tanglewood
Following
Friday.
week, You would use the new can, because that's when they'll start using the new equipment.
So when can we tell them we only want, say, 10 or 15?
When can you tell them?
We do that right away.
I think so. I mean, all I can do is run it by them and see. If the can isn't out by the street, they're not gonna pick it up, obviously. So if you only put 5 cans out there, that's what they'll pick up. And the other 10, then if they're never gonna be used, then we'll have them pick them up. But I don't know how you know that until you get them and try it.
We don't need 46.
I'm with you. I agree. I agree. Yes, ma'am.
And if you're only going to deliver half, who's going to be responsible? Because each one of them has a serial number attached to them.
Right, that's why it has to be.
They're going to be charged $75 if that is missing later on. So who's it going to be?
Well, everyone is marked, they have it in their computer system, and they'll know whose they picked up. And then I don't know, we're gonna have to just, if they're sharing, we're just gonna have to work that out with each unit. And that's really gonna be responsibility of the unit. The way I see it is that if we're paying,
Scone doesn't want them
it'll have a barcode, and that barcode is tied to your address, so they know whose it is. So if it disappears, and you need a new one, which in your case, it wouldn't disappear, but in the country, if it disappear, you'd have to buy your second. Anybody else?
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Ron, very much. That helps, helps us. Any other public comment?
Going back to the Virgil Elliott resident, going back to the free membership thing, just an option maybe you might want to think about in the future, and a couple of things playing devil's advocate. What about you give them the option of when they buy a new home, you can take it this year through 30 September or defer it and start it on 1 October. Just something to throw out there. You know, if you buy in November, December, you may want it this year. If you buy in March or April, you may want to defer it to 1 October. And then you don't have this prorated thing. It's just an idea, but also, when they get to talking to people, and in the military we call it barracks lawyers. Here I guess it'd be golfing lawyers. What about the discount? If I pay up front, I get the credit card discount if I pay cash? That's a question that may pop up to you. Also, if you do the $1,000 deposit and some type of extenuating circumstances come up where you can't get back down here and play golf or whatever, what's going to be your procedure for that? Just something that I think you need to think about before you come up with that final policy.
Bill Norcross, pardon me, Bill Norcross, resident, sorry, allergies again. All right, Jim has gone over a series of numbers here for the new home owners, right? And there's all kinds of numbers here. When I first got here, I looked at the back of the board, and that was 14, 15 years ago, and there was all kinds of categories. There would be homeowner, resident, non-resident, improved lot, Tanglewood. Very, very confusing. You just say, listen, I want the best deal I can possibly get. Now, the numbers that have been put out there is $273 a month, $376, $483, 5-month type of deal. Well, you know, I was just looking at what Kurt had just brought up. What would it cost him? It cost him $1,380 for a month for a new homeowner. Okay, fine, I understand that, it's set and goal. But if you take a look at an average of, say, 4 rounds at $40, that's 160. A week, that's $460 a month. For 2 people, that's $1,280. So it's actually cheaper to pay for green fees, is the way it is. So Jim and Dave were going to get together and talk about this, all right? Now, as former chairman of the golf committee, we hashed over this several times. I don't know why Bob Butts, and he's the member of the golf committee right now, why the golf committee is more involved. And between Jim and Dave, we're going to make a determination as far as the legality or the rates. So I just want to make sure that everybody is on the same track. Everybody understands it. It's very simple. It looks very complicated right now as far as I'm concerned. So I just hope that the resolution is adequate and fair for everybody. And I understand a new home buyer, he's looking for the best deal he could possibly get. And like Mark has said, why isn't there any survey as far as the net result? Did he buy here because he was getting a free membership? Or did he buy here because he just likes the place? So a little follow-up on that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Any more public comment? Okay.
Gene Gann, Jimmy again. Last week I asked for, there was a request for indemnification, and I really didn't get an answer on that. And what it was is on the February 10th Board of Supervisors agenda there was an emergency add-on, and I need to ask who requested the item and what was the subject matter on it, and why the president pulled it from the agenda.
It was Mr. Halbeck. That was his indemnification request, and Mr. Halbeck pulled it he requested to have it pulled from the agenda before the meeting.
And what was the request for? A policy or money or? Lawyer. Was there a letter?
Was there a what?
Was there a letter, a request in writing?
Yes. Yes.
Is that available to the public?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I'd like to get a copy of that. And we also spoke about the lawsuit and the Sunshine Law cost about $100,000. And now that the Griffin case appears to be settled, what are the court costs going to be for the district?
It is not settled. It is absolutely not settled. Right now, we're scheduled for trial in April.
Okay, then what are the court costs so far?
Nothing to the district because it's covered by our insurance.
The insurance is going to pay for it? Okay. Okay. The last thing is that Mr. Macbeth was here. He's proposed to the county to have an assistant attorney help him out, and maybe today kind of showed that he might need a little more help. And also, if they're looking for an assistant attorney down, the attorney is going to be full-time and only going to work on county business. Do you think it's time now for Sun Lake to be looking at an in-house attorney that would only service Sun Lake? Has that been brought up in the past?
No, it has not.
Okay. There might be something for discussion during budget. That's all. Okay. Thank you.
Ray Brooks, residents. I'm just curious, the 16 or 18 homeowners, what do we tell them? What have we told them so far? As far as what happens after a year or anything?
What we have told them, what we have told them so far is that we were going to address it at this meeting and get back to them.
What do we tell them when they bought the house and they came in and got the free membership?
that they received a 1-year free membership from the day their water turned on.
And we didn't tell them what would happen afterwards, or?
No, sir.
Okay, just curious. Thank you.
Any more public comment?
Just while I'm here,
Okay.
somebody asked for the website for the progressive waste. I thought it would have been on that literature I brought, but for anybody that's interested, you can go on HighlandsTransition.com is the website, and a phone number if you have any questions is 655-0005. Got that? Thank you.
Thank you.
Repeat that site, Highlands.
Transitions.
HighlandsTransition.com.
Okay.
655-0005. And I'm sorry, I don't know why it wasn't on that literature, but
Thank you, Ron. Discussion to and from the board.
I have a couple.
Wally?
Jim, do you have an outline or a plan and stuff like that for the growing season that we can look at, or you could come to us and talk to us about, or you know what you're going to do to the courses?
So your question would be an ag plan? Yes, we have a monthly ag plan.
Okay. And is it written down or anything like that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what I was getting to, I'd just like to know, what the plans are for the growing season. And I think we all would want that, just not me to sit down and talk about it. You know, what we're going to do, the tees and the fairways and greens and traps and overseeding and sodding and so forth like that to the course. What's going to happen there? So maybe the next meeting, March 10th, can you
Sure.
present that to us so we're known? Because, Ron Wonderling called all of us, and I suppose I got called in and talking. We gave him ideas and stuff like that, and I just wondered if that was passed on and moved on to you, or?
Where we are, well, in a separate process, Mike Stevens, our regional agronomist, should be here not next week, but the following week.
Okay.
To look at the property and to look at our whole plan, going forward.
Well, good. Can he come back for, that'd be March 10th, the next meeting. Can he come back and talk to us?
I can check and see if he could be here on the, what he would end up doing is he would coincide his trip with a meeting if he can.
Okay.
At this point, he wasn't doing that. He was just scheduling a trip.
Yeah.
So I can see if we want to delay the trip till it will coincide with the Board of Supervisors meeting.
Yeah.
We were trying to get him in as soon as possible.
Well, I don't want to slow anything down. I'd even request a special meeting so we know what's going on.
Right. The plan would be for Mike to meet with each of the supervisors, but...
Yeah, I'd like to get them all together in an official meeting.
Is this a routine visit by Mike? Or we just, he's presenting, Dr. Edgell is asking for a growing plan?
Sure.
That's something we already do monthly.
Well, I think this is a much bigger conversation
gotcha.
than we can have in a 30-second, I think what I would need from you is to tell me what you're looking for. We have our ag plan that tells you what your basics are of what the property needs. An ag plan wouldn't cover on hole number 3 if there's a bare area on the right that needs to be addressed. The ag plan is basically your budget, which would tell you that you're going to fertilize 6 times a year every other month. You're going to, spend X amount in fungicide. Are you asking about something like that or something more individualized as to hole by hole?
But that probably hole by hole, yeah. Probably hole by hole. Yeah, if it comes in the next board meeting, whatever, I want it on the agenda. I want to spend time, find out what's going to happen to the golf courses during this growing season. So you all can talk.
Well, I think it's a good idea. I don't know that it's something that you can put together in 2 weeks, but I think if you have an idea of exactly what you want, we can get with Ramon and Mike and put together a process of how long it'll take.
Yeah, but we've put out lists. We've talked to Ron about it. We put out lists and so forth. You and I have talked about, let's say, traps. You know, that's the thing about how they're entering and getting out of the traps, and nothing's been done. And just killing the area where they're going into the traps and everything. And then I see them over here on the practice area working on that trap, blowing the sand back into it and so forth. But on the courses, it didn't happen. But that's why I'd like to get to a point where you get all of our ideas, I'll get them together again, and that what is going to be done to the golf courses to make them better. You see what I'm saying?
I do see what you're saying, but, you know, based on the survey that I just got back on the members' evaluation of Turtle Run and Deer Run, there's a lot of things that are being done to the golf course that are better. You know, in general, there's a huge agreement that the courses are in some of the best shape they've ever been. Now, if there's specific issues, you know, that are happening with how the course is being maintained, that can be addressed. But anything you need, we can get. And basically anything that you'd like done can be done based on just time and money and allocation of resources. Sorry, I don't know what your talk was with Ron Wunderling or what's wrong.
Specific things, and I told Ron Wunderling this. Yeah, you get with me, and I'll drive you on every hole on Turtle Run, and I will show you things that's not being done. I'll show you things that have been done, and they've improved. There's no doubt about it. But there's a lot of things, you know, everybody will keep bringing up 17, left of 10, this and this green. Every hole needs work done on. Every hole. We've been told that to thicken up fairways, we're going to do this, spread that stuff on it, we're going to do, but each hole needs work, needs stuff done to them to improve. Yeah, it's come. I agree with you. It's come a long way. I think we got the best greens around town. I'm telling you, there's no doubt in my mind. But there's still a lot that needs to be done to every hole. Every hole. There's big bare spots. And these sod over here. And, every hole. Every hole. And I play 17. You can't hit a grass spot on 17. But I'm just saying that I'd like to know what's going to happen to get move the golf courses to the next level. You know, I've been traveling around looking at courses, and I think there's a lot to be done yet. A lot to be done yet. We have the resources. We got plenty of people, but there's just some things, Jim, that still aren't getting done. That, you know, you've asked for lists and so forth like that. We give it to you, you know, and Ron comes in to talk to us and so forth like that. I'd just like to have a long discussion as to what, if we have to sit here and go hole by hole with a video presentation, I don't care. I just wonder what's going to be done.
Great. Well, we'll communicate with you and the board through Ron and Mike Stevens and, you know, put together an entire plan to do a review.
Well, okay. But I think it should include what's going to be done to clear up all these bare spots, projects that didn't get finished. I'm not interested in tees. The tees are in pretty good shape. The greens are in pretty good shape. But everything else is just bare. I mean, we need some, like they're saying last year, by October 1st, grass. You know, there's like the project on 17 over there down the right-hand side of the fairway. There was some sod put down, and there was great big spots that were just stopped. I mean, it was cut out, but it wasn't finished. You can get on the green and look back up the fairway. On both sides of the fairway, there's dead spots all the way up to now. Someone told me that was a curfewing. Did that. But here was a little patch of sod put here, a little patch over there, and so forth. Instead of going up there and maybe mulching and put down sod and fix that fairway, it's bare. You know, the trap on the left over there. They've been going in and out of it with the machine so much that the spot is as big as this whole area right here, dead, because they're still doing that. Yeah. I don't know if it's not telling them what to do, or their training or something. When I talked to Ramon during my first visit with him, he told me, pointed at that, and he said, well, there's nothing to that. I'll tell those guys how to do that. I'm still waiting for that to be done. You know, it's just one of the issues. But yes, I want to know what's going to be done. I want to know what's going to be done. I've always said that's the one thing I'm going to do on this board before I die, quit, or leave, is get the golf courses checked. I'm done.
Sure.
Anybody else? Okay, Kurt?
Anybody else?
Go ahead.
Alrighty, my favorite topic, building code restrictions. I've done some work in looking into this and found out, and I think I'm right, that the city of Sebring has a 750 square foot under air minimum. The county has 1,000 square foot under air minimum. We have 4 HOAs here. We have Magnolia Place, Deer Run, Preserve, and Manor Hill. Magnolia Place has a 2,500 square foot minimum with 3,000 feet on the golf course. Deer Run has a 1,600 square foot minimum with 2,000 on the golf course. Preserve, I think, is 1,200 minimum, 1,600 on the golf course, and Manor Hill has anywhere from 1,550 to 1,700 minimum and 2,000 on the golf course. They all require 2-car garages. So if you don't live in Manor Hill, Preserve, or Magnolia Place, your property values are at risk because of the 1,000 square foot minimum by the county. The district has no minimum whatsoever. So my point is, Mr. Butts, which I'm going to use as an example, built a nice new home on the other Pebble Beach. He's got vacant lots all around him, and that right there is a picture of a home that was approved by the county. So my point is, that home could be all around Bob Butts' brand new house. And it could be anywhere in the district under the current building regulations. East of Cortez, which is really the heart of Sun and Lake District, there are 6 units that are at risk. There's Unit 2, Unit 4, Unit 5, Unit 13, 15, and 16 are at risk of having something like that happen. Another photo further on down is another house, and I guess it didn't come out as well as I hoped. Go up to the top one there. On the right is a home. This homeowner has 2 lots joining each other. So he built the house on the right, which is a nice home. Then on the left, he built what it looks like a garage, and I'm assuming he got it approved by the county saying he's going to do unity of title or something like that. But on the right side of that garage is a living area. So because he didn't do unity of title, he can actually resell that property on the left. Go to the next slide, please. He can sell that as a residence, and that's probably maybe 500 square feet of living area and a 1-car garage. This is the issue that I'm so concerned about, is that all of our property, Ron Garl just mentioned, he said the value of having a golf course in this community, it increases property values. But if you start allowing buildings like this built in this community, our property values are going to go in the toilet. And also, over on Pebble Beach, they're building that quadplex. Each one of those condos, the building itself looks fine because it's like 5,000 square feet total. But each individual unit in there is 1,265 square feet. If you want to get an idea what a 1,000 square foot house looks like, go to that unit. It's still open. You can walk through it and take 250 square feet out of it. And that's the kind of homes that could be built in this community right now. And also, Tanya's even got something that even drives it even closer to home, which happened in Unit 2, which we found out on Wednesday, which is,
We have a 1,300 square foot modular home that was approved by the county to be constructed in Unit 2, and I have the address. And we found that out this week.
so basically we have our first quasi-mobile home in here, if you want to call it that. It's a modular home, I assume it's a two-sided thing, 1,300 square feet. So, again, to me, based on the HOAs that are in this community now, that would not qualify to be built or erected in this community. And Dave has been working on restrictions and county restrictions and all that. Maybe you can bring us up to date, but to me, this is the biggest concern that I have, is that if we don't do something within this district, and I don't know if the county can do something, or if we can have a district HOA, or what's the best way to go about this, but we need to get some minimum restrictions in here, or this whole community is going to go right south, basically.
Can I ask you a question, since you've researched this so much? There are areas that don't have HOAs. We realize that. A formal HOA, okay? Now, where I live on Pebble Beach, and everything I've read there are restrictions both sides of the street, golf course side and...
That's a fallacy on your part. Every one of us live in it, and I'm not doing this because of us, I'm just doing it for the community, but every one of us live in an area that if you got a vacant lot across the street, next to you, or whatever, that house can be built. Because, especially when I said, if you live in Manor Hill, you're protected, because everybody in Manor Hill is under the same guideline. Preserve is the same way. Magnolia Place is the same way. Deer Run is not. Deer Run is an HOA that was started by Raymond Hornick as a benefit to buying his home. Unfortunately, Raymond Hornick didn't own every lot in the area. So any other builder that come in there owned a lot and built a house and sold it is not under the HOA.
It's the reason you have some fences down there. You have squabbling going on down there at the curb. They're not part of the HOA.
Well, I understand the people that aren't part of a formal HOA, like you guys have in your area, and you were in fact president, I believe, for the Deer Run Association HOA, quasi type of HOA. There is none on Pebble Beach, for an example, because of resistance from people. They didn't want it. And they didn't quite understand the value of what you're saying now to have a teeny house maybe next door to them. So like I said, I was under the impression that there were minimums, and you're saying that they aren't.
The only minimum that I'm aware of, and David can talk to that, is the county minimum, that's it.
The county minimums are the minimums, except for the only deed restrictions that affect the district as a whole is that houses on the golf courses must be a minimum of 1,000 square feet, which, is kind of pointless because already, depending on where you're zoned, R1A residential districts, it's 1,000 square feet minimum, but if it's a two-story structure, you can, at least 750 square feet has to be on the bottom floor. R1 is a minimum 750 square feet, and we have R1 designations in the district. Then we have R2. Those are getting into multifamilies, but R2 basically it's 750 square feet. But if you have a secondary structure, that secondary structure would have to be 600 square feet, and then R3 goes into the multi-use. And I think that's if you're doing a multi-family dwelling, which means more than two, so if a 3 or 4, it's a minimum of 400 square feet. So obviously that'd be 1,200 square feet for 3. So, but yes, it's possible. There will be places in the district where a 750 square foot structure is allowable.
So how do you address this? What's the process?
I don't really know that there is a specific process. The only thing that I could think of that would be if the district was to request that that we have R1s removed from the district and put into R1As, but that's going to be very difficult because, if the reason the district was able to get the 1,000 square foot minimum on the golf course was because that was done back when the district was created. the district doesn't own all the property in the district anymore, obviously. So all the vacant lots. Now, the district could impose deed restrictions on all the property that it owns, but you can't put restrictions on other people's property. It's just that simple.
We could have an election though, couldn't we? I mean, we could actually make that a topic on a ballot and have people that own property in these 6 units vote on it.
Well, I guess if you were talking about make some sort of umbrella, we could try creating some sort of HOA that encompassed the entire district. But then once again, everybody that owns property in the district gets to vote on that.
My question on that is, if their assessments are not paid, would they be able to vote?
No.
Would the county be able to vote their property?
No.
Because they haven't paid any assessments.
I'd have to go and check that, but when it comes to voting on Sun and Lake issues, you're only entitled to vote if you're current on your assessments.
Okay.
Then that seems to be the way we want to go.
That's
Ballot.
That's what I.
on the ballot.
Well, unless maybe Ron can speak to it, but maybe the county can, do some magic up there and kind of do what we want them to do.
I mean, I would think you could at least speak to the county about your request. And I think, because I've done it on the private business, I think if you can get, I think it's 75% of the property owners, it's the super majority of the voters, on a ballot.
Mm-hmm.
They can
65.
require-
It's 65, because it's like our homeowners.
I don't know what the number is.
I'll research.
60.
And then
Our homeowners.
I think you probably could put it on some
And we
kind of a
had to go get
ballot.
props and shit.
You know, the county would have to work on get that structure, I'm sure, but it definitely is.
I can't believe any homeowner that values their property would not want something like this. Sure. I mean, it's.
Now, obviously, anything that exists currently would probably be grandfathered, but, obviously.
No.
Moving forward.
Why would you want a grandfather?
I don't know that you have you can't force someone to add on to their
If you
house.
have, if it's on a ballot and it gets approved,
Can't
can't.
tear their house down.
Yeah.
Huh?
You can't make them tear their house down.
Yeah.
Why would I tear their house down? Oh, you mean, okay.
Yeah,
You're talking about already built structures.
Already
Yeah.
built structures,
I'm
right.
talking about land, vacant land.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Well,
that
can
part
we might be- pursue that? Can we?
Sure. I mean, I'll look into what it would take to do that. If it's a 75% or 66 2/3% or whatever the percentage is.
Right.
And whether or not it's something that gets placed on the ballot or it can be, I guess it would just have to be something that be placed on a ballot in the voting cycle.
If we started at the higher end of this, at the county level, would we talk to Ross Macbeth about it, or? Okay.
Well, Kurt, go ahead and keep going on it, because I can't imagine anybody here not agreeing with you and wanting to make sure that don't happen, so. Dave and Tanya, help Kurt, okay?
No,
Anybody else?
last month I talked about that RV park that you were building.
I have,
Might come to fruition.
I have something for Jim.
Okay,
Jim,
go ahead.
Ramon, is Ramon still going to contact the supervisors and take us around? I know he talked to me, and I think he said he was going to visit with, okay. Just hadn't done that yet, so, okay. That's all I have.
I bet.
Yeah, he talked to me about it, but he was out of town for his meeting Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
You have something else?
No, I want with Ramon.
Okay, meeting's adjourned.